Fadi Ghandour is the quintessential entrepreneur, an amazing role model and a visionary, and a thought leader for an entire generation. Fadi is famous as the founder of Aramex. He has now reinvented himself as the executive chairman of Wamda Ventures, a new VC fund focusing on technology investments in the Arab world. Amongst his other notable roles and positions that he holds currently includes the managing partner for MENA Venture Investors, board member for Branch Capital and Endeavor Global. He's on the advisory council of MIT's Media Lab, a board of trustees at the American University of Beirut, founding investor of Maktub.com in 1999, which was subsequently sold to Yahoo in 2009 and started the digital revolution in the region. He's also the chairman of Ruwad, an equity-based fund for micro-businesses and micro-entrepreneurs. He is a graduate from George Washington University. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second most difficult segment of the day because Fadi and I are between you and lunch. So we have to make it really, really exciting to make this thing happen. It is, I know everybody says this, but I think I mean this deeply from my heart, with humility and gratitude. I have known Fadi for many, many years, and he is a true icon. He is a true business leader. A lot of people here are successful, and many of them in this room and many outside. But success is measured not just by numbers, but it's measured by contribution, is measured by sustainability, is measured by a future vision, is measured by commitment. But even more than all of those things is measured by character. He is humble, he is authentic, he is real. He's a very, very special man. Could you please give him a big round of applause to start this thing? Now you have to live up to all of this.
I'm gonna try.
Absolutely.
Depends on the questions.
The questions are easy. I see you as a revolutionary, as an activist, as somebody who's ready to shake the tree. Do you see yourself like that?
Absolutely. It would be boring. I would have a boring life if I didn't think that I was like that. No, look, revolutionary in the sense that I kept my very innocent and sometimes stupid habits of a naughty boy, if you want.
Yeah.
So I questioned a lot of things. I refused authority consistently.
Yeah.
I like to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's revolutionary in the sense that I thought things could be done better also. But I ended up being an evolutionary person.
Indeed,
so
and
I didn't revolutionize anything. I just had fun doing whatever I was doing.
But you're changing the landscape. You're changing the startup landscape. You're inspiring young people through your activism and through your authentic effort in this space.
So I'm a believer that role models are essential, and role models have a job to actually go out and shake things up. You have a duty to do whatever you're doing, specifically if you have actually felt that you have achieved something, that you have a message, that you have a story to tell. People get inspired by it. People think if he's done it, I can do it. So I always urge people in general, and that's why I sit on many panels, because I feel that you need to actually go out and tell the story and tell it in a simplified manner and show that it actually is not that difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to humanize and bring everything down to earth so that the next generation can actually think that they can actually go out and do whatever they need to do.
What is the essence of your story? You started with very humble beginnings. You built a multi-billion-dollar business.
So the business started from humble beginnings. I have to tell you, I'm not your typical entrepreneur from rags to riches. So I come from a well-to-do family. So I'm blessed.
Okay.
That gives you a massive advantage. So that we are clear on it. There are people that have done much better from much humbler, if you want, backgrounds. So I came from a sense of security, but the business started from scratch.
Yeah.
And Aramex, that is, and I spent 35 years in it, effectively. I'm still on the board today, and it became a global company, and it went public 2 times.
Yes.
So it's, I've done things that in 35 years that many people would wish that I've done it all.
Indeed. You went public twice. Went
public twice, once on NASDAQ.
Yes.
And once here. I mean, we're still here.
That's right. I mean, you did a reverse merger in NASDAQ, and then
we did a private equity deal. So we were the first private equity of, the quintessential private equity deal with Abraj. So Abraj launched their fund. They acquired us off of NASDAQ, brought us back here, took us public again 3 years later on the Dubai financial markets.
How did that shift things for you? I mean, did it give you more discipline? Did it give you more clarity? Did it?
Meaning going public?
Going public initially rather than remaining in private hands.
Going public was what made this company what it is today. So on NASDAQ.
On NASDAQ, yeah.
So definitely not on any other markets, unfortunately, in the region. So we continue to run the business as if it was a NASDAQ-listed company.
Okay.
And so the transparency, adhering to SEC standards, I mean, it made the company. The discipline, the reporting, the disclosure, the governance was a massive lesson for us. And you learned by fire, because once you're public in the US, you'd better be very careful. And because most of our investors were also funds from the US.
I understand.
So as much as we wanted to raise money here, nobody was interested. When we went public on NASDAQ, everybody got excited. Oh, he's legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. We're taking other people's money.
Yeah. Moving on to your current passion in life, which is as the executive chairman of WAMDA. What inspired you to get into that, and what are the activities today?
So WAMDA is a digital platform that enables entrepreneurs and invests in them in the tech space. So if you're a believer that the digital space has arrived, which many people haven't believed in, but it's here, by the way, if you carry your phone. So the digital revolution has arrived in the Arab world, and it's happening, and I'm investing in it. I'm investing in it at a very early stage. So I'm the first check. I have more than 95 companies that I've invested in over the years. Many of them failed, if you had heard the previous talk from Karim and others. And we effectively believe, so I'm going to contradict you a little bit from your earlier introduction. I'm not going to be humble. We actually created the industry in the digital space because we invested in it very early on. We were the biggest risk takers. Back from the year 2000, when I first invested with Samih and Hussam in Maktoub.
In Maktoub, yes.
And when people made fun of us, saying, web browsers, there is no internet businesses that are going to make it in the Arab world. Why? Because, there is this sense that we are backwards, It happens in Silicon Valley, but it cannot happen here because there's something wrong with us. Mm-hmm. So we invested in it, we actually built it, and then Yahoo came and acquired it, and then suddenly everybody, again, when the guy from Silicon Valley comes, they believe it. So when Yahoo came to town, we are suddenly, the industry is happening, and happily. Yes. So, I'm being a bit cynical, but in today's world, that's my revolutionary sense coming.
Which is great.
So if you don't say it as it is, the message is boring. Yeah. So Yahoo comes, acquires Maktoub 9 years later, and it takes 9 years to 10 years, by the way. Exits will happen after 10 years. Okay, for those of you who will ask, where are the exits? It takes 10 years. And it will take 10 years from 2009. So the industry in this region happened in 2009 when Yahoo acquired. Why? Because this is the PayPal mafia story. So when PayPal got launched and then got acquired, and the Elon Musks of this world, the Reid Hoffmans of this world went out and built Silicon Valley of the 21st century, Maktoub is exactly the same story. So Souq.com is a product of Maktoub. The founders are owners of Souq because lovely Yahoo said to us, we're not interested in Souq. You take it. We're only acquiring the other side of Maktoub, and happily because, and you will hear more stories about Souq very, very soon. And it became the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of company, created the e-commerce industry in the region. And there were about 15 companies that started off of the original Maktub. So founders left, built businesses. Again, back to the story of failure or back to the story of graduation. You graduate from companies that do well, and they're telling us 10 minutes. So so the industry happened from there.
We'll ignore it.
Well, the industry happened from there. It's like a threat.
Yes,
10 minutes.
Exactly. Go.
Speak fast.
Speak fast. Lunch is waiting. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind. So I'm just teasing.
just joking too. I think what you just said, you're a quintessential angel investor. I mean, he's got big wings. He has Red Bull every morning and evening. Do you think these people here need Red Bull to become an angel and actually
I don't know if they need Red Bull. They definitely need to be angel investors, creating jobs of the future.
Why is angel investment so important?
Because if you don't invest very early on, then, so my example always of angel investing is you need to do a lot of them. And it's like, if you don't have babies, you're not going to have adults. Yes. Okay? So it's not, there are no miracles in this. There's a biological story to it. You need to get married, you need to have a baby, and then that baby becomes an adult and does whatever he does. So it's the same thing in startups. You need to invest in a lot of baby startups so that you can have the souks or the Amazons or the Maktubs. So the base is massive.
Yeah.
The base is massive. There are thousands, literally. We alone, as a fund, saw about 700 companies last year, interviewed for investments. We ended up investing in about 10 last year from these 700. But somebody needs to give them that first check so that you can validate that idea, whether it makes sense or not, or to get them to fail. Because in failure is where we learn. I mean, Silicon Valley is the story, and then again, back to failure. Silicon Valley is the story of saying it sits on a graveyard of so many startups.
Yeah.
So many startups. And today's boom in the world of the digital economy sits on the bust of 2000. I mean, most of these startups, founders either came back in many different phases, in many different, but with experience under their belt. And there's nothing better than actually tinkering and failing than to build the next business or the third business. So I would always invest in a failed entrepreneur in his second startup.
Right.
Because he must have had that. He must have seen the road.
One of my definitions of failure, I use the 5 Fs of failure: fail fast, fail forward, fail frequently, fail frugally, and failure is not fatal. Is that something that...
Failure is a journey of learning.
Of learning. So is that something we need to absorb?
But it's not only absorb. I mean, if you take failure as a journey to... I mean, if you think of not making it as a journey in your first round, as a journey of learning, then it's not going to be called failure. It's going to be called a journey of learning.
Yes.
And then we destigmatize it.
Yeah.
And then take the cultural... threats of it, because they tell you the Arabs are risk averse. Don't buy that.
I don't buy that at all.
Don't believe them. So people take risks. The Arab world is filled with entrepreneurs. This doesn't have to be, I mean, the private sector in the Arab world has done well for itself over the years. Even though sometimes we like to depend on government because it loves us and it smothers us sometimes. And we love their contracts, and we love oil and gas sometimes, and make money out of oil and gas. But the reality of the matter is that's changing, and changing fast. Because, I mean, these are Harvard people, so I don't need to preach on them. But in the digital economy, the entrepreneurs are not taking permission. They don't care whether licenses come up or don't come up. They're going to build their apps, and they're going to disrupt, and they're going to do stuff, and they don't care whether you invest in them or not, because it is a world of permissionless innovation, as my friend Joey Ito says at MIT Media Lab. Yeah. It's cheap to build a business, and it is, that's why it's easy to fail. Yeah. And you don't even know, some of the kids that are building apps today don't even know that they're disrupting anything. They're just coming up and saying this, I'd like to do this better, and they're doing it. So in this sense, my last word on this, experience counts for nothing because there's a new frontier here. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't experienced the digital frontier, you're going to have to worry. you're going to have to worry. So it's the traditional businesses that have suddenly woken up that there is e-commerce in the Arab world that's going to eat our lunch. The retail model is under threat because it didn't grow last year while e-commerce is growing 50%.
Yeah.
So the people that say people are not buying, they're buying, but they're buying somewhere else. They're buying in New York via Amazon, and they're buying in Dubai via Souk. And you'd better change your model. You'd better either be clicks and bricks, an old story that said clicks and bricks, but you need to think very seriously about the skills of the people you hire, about how you are selling, about how you're reaching your client, because the digital world is a different platform. It's not about only launching a startup that sells retail, e-tail online. The mall model, it's a big statement for me to say here in Dubai, is under threat.
Okay.
It's under threat because Amazon is coming to town.
Right.
And Amazon is in the business of disrupting malls. So we'd better be careful for that.
But Al-Abbar has set up his startup.
I love Muhammad, and he's launching a Noon startup. It's
$1 billion startup.
But it's a big statement. He's basically saying, I am the bricks and mortar guy that built the tallest building in the world. I'm also thinking digital. So we'll pay attention to Muhammad Al-Abbar because he's a serious guy.
Yeah,
He's a man that would not announce something when he's not serious about it. Yeah. And it basically says, and he's built the biggest mall, and so he basically is saying that I am not gonna let this train move when I am in that business of the 20th century.
Right. We must talk about education, and I know we've had this conversation before. We're at Harvard Business School event. What are your views on the current style and structure of 18th century education that we have at the moment?
But you said 18th century, not me. Yes, so with all due respect to Harvard, and we love Harvard, and I'm not a Harvard grad, by the way, so.
That's why you're doing so well, perhaps.
I hire Harvard grads.
Okay.
And A students and C students, you know that story. Yeah. So I'm the latter.
I see.
So education, what do you want to know? So education is, look, I was bored to death in school. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. To death. I don't think I remember anything I learned except that I needed to read books, which was fantastic because I read books now and I get my general education and learning. But what do I remember about university? The cafeteria, going out. So I was a revolutionary, and I can't say this because it's so old they won't throw me in jail. So I was in the demonstration business.
Right.
An Arab student activist with a beard this big and hair, and Khomeini took over, and then Yasser Arafat got ignored, and then Rabin came and shook hands. I was the guy outside.
You were out doing the bit.
On Lafayette Square, because I studied in Washington, D.C., telling Anwar Sadat that, how can you ignore the Palestinians?
Yeah.
So that's what I learned.
Yeah.
I learned the freedom of thought. I learned the freedom of speech. I learned the freedom of rebelling. Yeah. I learned something very important, by the way, that if you don't know how to argue your cause, your cause is a failure. Yeah. So when I went to school in the United States, I came, and this was my first exposure to Jews. Okay, sorry, meaning, no, I'm not politicizing. I had never met a Jew, and then there was this Israeli issue that was facing us, and we felt that the Palestinian cause was a very right cause, but we knew nothing about defending it. So when I first stood on a public discussion to defend the Palestinian cause, I failed. And I was so embarrassed because I didn't know my history properly. I knew it in general, but I knew that we had the right cause. But I learned that I needed to learn how to defend my cause. That's what I remember about education. And that's what the American education system teaches you.
Right.
So you come back with that critical mind that says, I can be an entrepreneur, even though I never knew what entrepreneurship was when I started my business. Yeah. So you need that open mind, critically thinking, challenging the norms, challenging the current status,
So the
That's
four-year...
what an entrepreneur is. He's a challenger of the status quo,
Yeah.
which is a revolutionary at the end of the day, because it means the status quo is not working. And so universities, I sit on the American University of Beirut board.
Yeah.
And I am, and I can say it, I am bored with that board. I am bored. I just met the president, and I said, look, you wanna engage me? I need to feel that I am making a difference, that this university is going to go to the 21st century, that the classroom is no longer the place where kids are going to learn. When are we going to let them tinker? When are we going to create, for instance, an internship program in universities? Because Northeastern University has a fantastic program in the US, by the way. It's not Harvard, with all due respect, but you will not graduate unless you do a year of actual internships. And you know what happens to these people is they become legitimate, capable people ready for the job market. The current university sits within its walls, specifically in our region. The West is trying, and you have the MOOCs, and the MOOCs are challenging everything because in the classroom, the teacher sits and talks at me, and while I can be online, and it's the pull. It's the pull, not the push. I don't want you to tell me what I need to learn. I want to learn what I want to learn. So if our universities are not going to be in tune with the skills and with the needs of the individual, at whatever it is, then we're in trouble.
So the 4-year degree program should be about 1 year of study and then 3 years of tinkering, playing, learning, experimenting.
Because really, 6 months after you graduate, unless you're a doctor, I don't know, and the doctors, if they don't keep the practice, they will lose their knowledge. So imagine the people that study business, with all due respect to the Harvard Business School. Imagine the people that study business, if they don't practice their business, what do they...
Absolutely.
Go.
So you spoke about...
You learn nothing.
Yeah.
You learn nothing. You learn discipline, which is important.
And critical thinking.
But I don't know if you're ready for the job market.
Yeah.
The beauty about the Harvard Business School is its incredible network.
Yeah.
It gets me jobs. What I love about the announcements of some of the big companies in the US today is that they are taking away from your CV where you graduated from. Yeah. Because that gives you a bias. Because a Harvard grad, with all due respect to Harvard, is interviewing a Harvard grad. And I come from George Washington University. Who is he going to employ? The stupid GW grad or the Harvard grad?
Yeah.
So, and that's not a fair world. That's 1%ers killing us all.
Yeah. But that's part of...
That's Harvard, meaning 1%.
Absolutely. Digital bias and automation bias starts creeping in, which leads me to the next question, which is on digital ethics. We're talking about a digital revolution here. Yeah. What are we looking at in terms of having digital ethics, bioethics, and all of those elements?
Digital ethics meaning having respect to the person that you are tweeting about as if he is standing next to you?
No, that's just good.
Or are you talking about Trump and his tweets?
I'm talking about Trump and his tweets, no.
Because that's fake news.
That's fake news, indeed. No, what I mean by digital, we're going into big data.
The best thing about this is you can talk about Trump here and nobody does anything.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about Trump.
I'm pushing my luck. No, let's not. He will tweet about us, so let's not do that.
One of the key things on the digital ethics part, which I'll be talking about later, was that big data is becoming bigger and bigger, and artificial intelligence is becoming so powerful that what we are doing on a day-to-day basis is going to affect us. So you're supporting the digital environment in our region. Are we actually aware and conscious and cognizant of this kind of fear? Of this kind of risk, rather.
We'd better be, because we live it, we experience it every day, by the way. Even if you buy on Amazon today, you will get a recommendation from Amazon that says, you bought this, why don't you buy this and do that? And then on Facebook, if you search for a product, suddenly Facebook starts telling you, here, why don't you buy this? And it's like, and they used to hear your voice at the end of the day. We're done, by the way. And So digital ethics is like, what sort of jobs do we have in the future? Is artificial intelligence and robotics are gonna take over people's jobs? Is machine learning going to be doing all sorts of things? Yes, there are businesses that are going to be challenged and challenged big time because of it. But there are other jobs that are going to be created. So Kareem, even though they're talking about driverless cars, have 180,000 people maybe in their driving, and their captains. They call them captains. In Saudi Arabia, I mean, just you might have mentioned it earlier. In Saudi Arabia, 75% of the Kareem captains are Saudis, which challenges all the cultural. Whoever sold us that culture that Saudis or Arabs don't want to do jobs that are not necessarily behind desks, are basically have been lying to us all these years. Because once the opportunity came and the guy felt that he was a micro-entrepreneur and actually making a living from driving people from one place to another, he actually went out and said it, even though if he's and many of their employees, by the way, have degrees from universities, which means, when the job pays, people will actually take it. So, but on the digital side of things, we are challenged. The challenge is going to happen in the West probably before us.
Yeah, so we'll learn from that and take it from there.
And so one thing I'd like to say is, the guy that heads robotics department at Stanford University is Osama Al-Khatib. He's a Syrian who went to Stanford in the 80s. I bet you many of you don't know. He is the king of robotics in the world. And I just saw him recently at Stanford, and you should go to the Stanford robotics lab. We need to be, it's a big challenge. What's happening in robotics and coupled with machine learning and coupled with artificial intelligence. I'm not a techie as such, I invest in tech, but that's space that one needs to really worry about.
Yeah. Let's open to a couple of questions. I have one final question with you, and we will end with that. A couple of questions, please.
Well, thank you very much.
I need you to identify yourself, please.
Dr. Mariam Al-Swedi. I'm a loyal customer to Aramex.
You are from the Emirates?
Yeah, UAE. I'm a loyal customer for Aramex.
Loyal? Good.
Yeah.
I hope they're loyal back to you.
Yeah, that's the question. Okay, I'm a regular user of Shop and Ship.
Yes.
I was voted number 3 in Abu Dhabi, so you
number
better
3 buyer on Shop and Ship?
Yes.
Oh, e-commerce is happening.
Yes. Well, I enjoy shopping at home. I find it more relaxing. So there is an increase in your price lately. So do you think that it is justifiable, especially with the global, slowdown and everything? With
the best
uncertainty?
thing about your question is I no longer run Aramex, by the way. So
but you would understand.
I'm going to talk to them about your
you would understand the kind of, what are the criteria? Why they're doing this?
Let me criticize my old company.
Thank you.
And tell you if they don't face the reality of the digital disruption and the needs of changing their cost structures and delivery structures because of the e-commerce boom, they're going to have problems. Let me very quickly
please.
Tell you what's happening in e-commerce. Historically, people bought from places. So you would go to the marketplace and buy and go back home. E-commerce basically flipped that around. So it is you sit at home and you want the world to come to you. That has completely killed the logistics industry because we were built differently. We were not built to come to your home to deliver packages. Amazon had 6 billion packages last year alone.
I was one of them. Yeah.
None of the traditional FedExes, Aramexes, UPSs of this world are capable of handling the requirements that e-commerce is doing because we are clogged. We were not built like that. And that's why you see Amazon doing its own thing today and saying, I'm going to deliver in 2 hours. So Aramex today, because it was the first company to recognize e-commerce in the region, it built that infrastructure. But today we cannot, I'm telling you, we cannot handle the amount of business that we get. One reason of that here in the Gulf is the inflexibility, that's another discussion, of the labor markets. Because if I wanted to go flex today, if I want to go and say I need to hire 3,000 people on a part-time basis in season in Saudi Arabia, it's illegal. So when Souk gives me hundreds of thousands of packages over Ramadan, what do I tell Souk? What do I tell them? I can't deliver. Because I don't have the employees for it. Because I'm not going to build my employee base based on seasons. And the world lives around seasons in e-commerce. So what happens is you get 10-day delivery times, and Aramex gets slapped all the time because they can't deliver. So if you want to create jobs in Saudi Arabia, have a flex job market, because the world is moving into that.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
You haven't trashed the banks yet. They don't lend money.
I was at a Financial Times event this morning, and I did that completely. And so I'm.
so you run.
I don't know if there are bankers here, but in that one there were plenty of those. So and they hate me now. So fintech is going to eat their lunch.
They're not supporting the SMEs.
Nobody
not
wants
the
to go to a bank anymore. Here's my bank.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
If the bank doesn't recognize
a quick question,
this.
Mustafa, then we wrap up.
Hi, Mustafa again, Passion Guy. Thank you, Fadi. What's the way for companies to handle the risk, which is obvious, of the globalization in the tech? Because now you're talking about retailers. You don't have to buy from Suit.com. You buy from Amazon. You buy from anywhere else in the world. The company is set up somewhere, manufacturing in India using any company.
It's borderless world.
And robotics. Now you're talking about drones and all of this doing the delivery. Yeah. How are you going to capitalize, you as in anybody here, capitalize on this opportunity and mitigate the risk?
Well, I'm investing in it, but what I'm telling traditional businesses that are there, that look, businesses and businessmen in the Arab world, and I was one of them, it got chubby and close to government. Rafiq al-Hariri, bless his soul, the ex-prime minister of Lebanon, we met with him once as something called the Arab Business Council, whatever. And we told him, look, you need to help us open markets and have free trade and movement. You know what he told us? He says the worst people that are protectionists in the Arab world are who? It's not the regulator. It's the business community that doesn't want to compete. So he said, you guys are hypocrites, effectively. You're building the walls, and you're telling me now to break them down. If you want to compete, go improve your products effectively and compete with the global products. So what the digital economy is doing to all of us, and God bless Amazon and the rest of them, is that they're getting us to shape up. We either sell with them, we either improve our products, because no one is going to protect us. The world is, despite Trump's wars, despite Trump, global trading wars, and he's just stopped airlines from flying to the United States by creating this false impression that if you have your iPad with you, then everything is danger. That he doesn't want Emirates Airlines and Etihad to fly to the US. That's his protectionism. Despite that, and look how they got scared from the competition that comes from the Arab world. Because if it was the other way around, and I'm changing the subject, because if it was the other way around,
that's the activist
if it was American Airlines flying into the region and we suddenly throw protectionism at them, what would they do? They'd say we're backwards. I'm sorry. It's an unfair world, but we're going to fight it anyway. We're done, man. Look, Tariq, if you keep me here, somebody's going to throw me out. No. So, let's finish.
This is a closed room.
Let's end this misery.
And while you're ahead, a couple of quick questions. I mean, I know we are late for lunch, and I've been getting the look and the push and the nudge and everything. Do we have time for another couple of questions, or you want to close this thing? Yes? One? Okay. Ma'am, quick, feed the mind. Feed the mind.
I'm hungry, actually.
I have a lot of questions, but one question. Yeah, I will tell only one. Yeah. So you're telling that you're supporting a lot of startups and innovation, and
yeah, that's what I do.
So
my second career.
Yeah, you started with
second career.
So I'm sure on a daily basis you face a lot of interesting people who comes with innovations and offers and everything. So what is the key factor you choose? Says, yes, I'm going to invest in this business, because I'm sure the number of innovations is crazy.
Thank you.
Key factors in choosing the company that I invest in?
Yeah.
So there are several key factors, but you must have heard it before. So we look at the team. We don't like single founders, unless they're, I don't know, Harvard grads. That was not serious. So we like teams. We like to see their traction. We like clearly to see their passion. If he starts talking to me about exits, I'm not going to invest in him because I have zero interest in anybody thinking of his exit. I like entrepreneurs who are building businesses. I'm in the exit business because I'm an investor, so I need to exit. But the entrepreneur does not need to think exit. So I look at character, I look at grit, I look at his understanding of his place, I look at his passion. Does he really want to do this? Does he get the industry he's getting in? I mean, the guys, I like to talk about Kareem. Ronaldo Mshahwar from Souk and Kareem, founders, Mudassir and Magnus, are just incredible people. They are, for instance, the Kareem founders talk to you, they want to actually create the company that is going to make a difference in the world. And they want to do it through whatever Kareem does. And they're clearly building the passion and
Thank you.
Clearly building the traction. And
Any question from this side?
So that's what we do.
All right. Last question there, ma'am, and then we go for lunch. Quickly, make it count. Everybody's waiting.
And please identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Suad. I work in education. Now
In where?
Well, I send students abroad. So many students, they don't want to go abroad. They want to do it online, work and study. And it's like shopping online, studying online. It's the same, but it's not allowed.
It's not allowed?
No.
Yeah, because we have, again, the education ministries are so powerful that they impose on us on this thing that they have to certify our certificate, whatever we get, the university degree that we get. And it has to be from
the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, stamped in triplicate, sent back home.
But that's because you want to work in government. Because if you don't want to work in government, I assure you, in the private sector, we care less about your degree. We will not interview you based on your degree. That is only a question out of 10 questions, 100 questions, and mostly we employ on character. We employ on inquisitiveness. We employ on going out and solving. If you have a degree from a fantastic university and you are boring, you're not going to get employed. Finish.
My final question, and to wrap it all up, because we spoke about business, but you're also a social entrepreneur. You make such a difference on the social side. And for all the people here, the balance between the social element.
I am a great believer that businesses will succeed in successful societies. Look at our brothers and sisters in Syria. Successful societies will create the business people.
Yeah.
So they're all in exile today.
Yeah.
So there are political reasons there, but and we look at Yemen, look at countries look at Egypt, for that matter. If society is miserable, don't celebrate your success as a business because you're not going to last.
Yeah.
And then we need to start moving away very clearly from this lousy reputation that we have as business people as being greedy, we don't care about society, we don't invest in society, and let's demolish completely the concept of corporate social responsibility and CSR, because it's about PR, and I'll bet you most of these companies that actually do CSR have it in their PR department. So CSR equals PR, dead. If you are not activists in the sense that you are active in your society, that you are making a difference in your society, that you are employing because the well-being of society is good, that you're not going to celebrate a company that fires 1,000 people and go buy their shares because their income will improve because they fired 1,000 people, then you are ethical. And then you become a corporate responsible in society as a whole. Because if we think corporations live in societies and our employees are the sons or daughters of society, then what do? Do we destroy society while we have their daughters and sons with us? Yeah. So you need to be an activist in that sense. So this is not too revolutionary, by the way. I'm just passionate and loud. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Ignore that sound. It requires you to be a little bit more sensitive. About society and a little bit more compromising on your profits once in a while. It doesn't hurt. Aramex in the financial crisis did not fire a single employee. Our revenue went down 10%. We never have ever fired employees. So, and thank you for that. And thank you for that. And maybe the markets would have accepted that, and maybe we could have taken an opportunity and say, let's fire people because everybody expects you to fire. But we did not fire.
Ladies and
gentlemen, we're doing better now. So let's go.
That's quintessential Fadi Ghandour.
Thank you very much.